Oh, he's doing it, the mad lad. It is Valerio playing the Commander Knob, going up against a Force Commander called Ajax. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know if anyone knows who this is. It was Innie who... Ajax is a smurf. It was Innie who submitted this. And I don't think he knows who Ajax is. Anyway, who cares? We're gonna... What? Well, yeah, Ajax, the Greek hero. And he's got the Spartan-looking helmet. Anyway, whatever, we've got Commander Knob versus Space Marine, specifically the Force Commander. I don't know how much of a smurf he is. He's going for double tax, which is pretty weird. But to be honest, against the Commander Knob, I suppose it's probably the most effective hero out of all the orcs that you can go double tax against. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe double tax are decent against the mech boy. I'm not sure. All I can say is that you can rest assured that Commander Knob's very good at punishing scouts. But yeah, nice play by Ajax here. Really fast reactions there, getting the scouts back out of the garrison. They should be able to get back into the garrison in spite of the speed buff from the War. Again, Ajax not wasting his micro, accidentally getting in the garrison for no reason, so... Good play by this fella, and he's going to go for double tactical Space Marines now. As I say, the Commander Knob kind of struggles with dealing with tactical Space Marines. His best option is actually to pick up the knife. But the knife's a bit sad, because you never get a ranged DPS weapon like his initial shooter once you've got the knife. The knife probably would be good here though, because not only does it put more pressure onto the tax, you get that stunning ability with Tripper Shot, which can help control the Force Commander. Now these sluggers here engaging these tax is really ill-advised. The sluggers are way too low in HP, and the tax got to shoot them on approach. So not really great situation there for Valerio. The good thing for him is Ajax going for these double tax means he hasn't actually got any gens up yet. He doesn't even have a node. Let's see, is it going to be instant ASM? Probably not. Maybe. I guess Ajax would have wanted to have captured a few more contested power nodes beforehand. Now this engagement's way better, because these sluggers have burners, giving them extra health and power melee damage, and the tax weren't able to shoot them on approach, so the sluggers very cost effectively force off those tactical Space Marines. And again here, SC already in retreat. No attacks from the tactical marines onto the sluggers as they ran in, so the tactical marines have to flee. Looks like the scouts will be able to finish the capture here onto the contested VP, but then they need to flee from the shooter boys lest they lose some models. It is indeed going to be a fast ASM squad. A little bit of float from Ajax. Yeah, needs to get that power node up. Would have been better for him, I think, to have captured this contested power point rather than push up and fully capture this wreck, because then he would have got the ASM out significantly faster, and then he could have built his power node and his subsequent gens a lot quicker as well. An interesting build here from Valerio, going for this double sluggers looters. In fact, we seen this not so long ago in Guru versus Demos, where it was Mech Boy versus the Chaos Lord. I wonder if this is becoming a bit of a thing. But yeah, this is interesting to... Okay, we do see the Assassin's Knife. I mean, that makes sense to help protect the looters. I feel like this looter play... I don't know how good it's going to be, really. We'll just see. We'll see. Now he's going for a second scout squad? What? What? Clearly a lot of speculation there in the chat about who this is that I'm reading and who knows? It doesn't really matter. ASM jump here is pretty doomed, yeah, without any knockback because they didn't actually land on top of those sluggers. Then having the commander knob in retreat, not a great situation for those ASM, but they don't bleed any models. Meanwhile, shooters are. Scouts retreat out without bleeding anything, but look at this. Really nice flank there from Valerio while that main engagement was happening in the mid. You've got Tax capping this side. Well, it opened up these sluggers perfectly to move in and start getting a bit of a gem bash going. And the loot is going to cover the mid quite effectively. And yes, the isolated tactical space marines will not be able to deal with the commander knob 1v1, no chance. You see the ability there from the knife, how much damage that just did. Kind of feels like... why would you use it straight away before getting a few hits in? Like if he got 3 hits there, now he hits this model, he'd actually wipe it. But it doesn't matter, the tactical marines re-engage anyway, and the weakened model gets killed. So he got his tactical marine kill, which is nice, that's kind of the whole point of this thing. Notice how the Assassin's Knife does 70 melee DPS. Most tier 1 melee weapons only do 50 power melee DPS. So, I'm trying to think what the effective power melee DPS versus heavy infantry would be. What is it, 30% extra damage from power melee? So it would be 15 extra 65, so it'd still be less than this. But this melee weapon has no special attacks. So it's actually not great in melee fights because you can't get any of that knockback from the special attack. I find it really weird that Ajax has opted for the Scout Squad as a 5th unit. I would have gone for Devastators. When you've got double tax and you've got the 50% extra capping speed, it just seems very suboptimal. Why even get the Scouts at the end then? Why not just go two Scouts into tack? I don't know. Or just do the normal tack, scout, ASM, and then drop pod in your second tack. A decent attempt at a nade there. I mean, if that was literally half a second earlier, then that would have been a wipe potentially on the entire squad. So Tack's taking a lot of damage here. Losing 2 models quite unnecessarily. I don't really know what they're doing. Seems a bit pointless. A nice set of stick bombs there from the commander knob. Not a wargear you see very often. Of course it's space marines, so no tactical marines die, but they did kill a scout, and it did a lot of damage to the tax there, so they're going to be running around with basically half HP for a long time right now. And we see the Taxis still hanging around with 1 model, which is a very interesting play. You have to assume that there's going to be a drop pod at some point. If we look at the tech, Ajax, considering the size of his army, is actually doing very well in tech. Going to be able to start his tier 2 soon. Obviously, Val is 3/4 of the way there to tier 2 already. Oh, very lucky special attack there with the ASM, but this is not a fight that Valerio wants to be taking. Not with a Force Commander coming over, having activated Battlecry, buffing up the damage of all these ASM, and look at how much damage there is. That is for the Emperor, I believe. Is it? Is that for the Emperor? No, not for the Emperor buff. Honestly, for the Emperor, and then jump after those sluggers, I think he could have wiped those sluggers. It'd have been worth it. It'd have been worth it. Not sure that looters have really done anything so far. Either way, it's going to be fast slugger knob, which is a bit weird from Val. Fast double slugger knob. I mean, don't get me wrong, slugger knobs are really good, but I would definitely be getting a vehicle out first. Also, look at the size of Ajax's army. I don't know why Val would not be going for a Death Dread rather than fast slugger knobs, but yeah. And again, we've got all these marines blobbed up in the middle with very few models. You know, 1 model on the tax, 2 models on the tax here, 2 scouts. Where's the drop pod? And there isn't. There's no drop pod. Okay. Not a very good engagement there. Now there's going to be a Death Dread. Okay, you see, this is super suboptimal from Val. There's no point. I mean, the Walker will still be good, but what I mean is there's no point getting the Death Dread after the Slugger Knobs. You get the Death Dread first, so you have a better timing window to get the bash. Very strange. I don't know why you'd go for the knobs first, when there was zero indicator that the opponent was higher in tech. Massive failure there from Ajax, jumping in his ASM. I didn't actually notice if the looters were infiltrated. Perhaps they were, and that's why he jumped where he did onto the shooters. But yeah, just jumped right into the firing arc of the looters, and looters do very scary damage at close range. Still, the Razorback is now here, and the Razorback plus Tactical Marines will be able to push this force off quite effectively. Perhaps going to see the Beamy Looter. Indeed, that is coming through. Now we've got the Death Dread moving in to deter the Razorback. The Looter is staying in play because it does have that Beamy upgrade coming up. It's going to set up. It will definitely hit the Razorback with one shot. Boom. Does it get another? No. That would have been the kill. But it doesn't get another. I think it would actually. I'm not sure how much the Beamy Looter does. Looks like there might have been some war buffs, so it probably would have been enough. And the Death Dread has got its burners and bits, so it's going to finish off the Gem Bash and then can get stuck into some tactical Space Marines, which will be a very fun time for it. Now for Ajax, he needs to get some AV on the field. We don't see any missile launchers coming, we don't see a Power Fist, so I suspect he's going to buy a Devastator and get a Las Cannon. Still 30 power, but he does have that at the moment. It's tricky though, using a Las Cannon Devastator when you're against a Commando Knob. You got two squads of melee going around. Obviously, these guys can get infiltrated by the boys, the Global from the K-Knob. Smoke grenade there, saving the Razorback from the Beamy Looter, combined with the grenade from the Scouts to get rid of it. Yeah, an ASM just jump out of there. They obviously do not want to be fighting with a Death Dread. And here comes the Dev, so they will be getting their Las Cannon eventually. But as I say, it's going to be tough for Ajax to keep the melee away from that Las Cannon Devastator. The Commando Knob can himself obviously infiltrate and just pop up wherever the last Dev goes. So it'll be tricky. It'll be tricky. He's going to need some other AV for sure. He needs to replace his Gen Farm. Play very defensively, just keep pushing the Razorback down the sidelines to try and pull the Death Dreader away and to distract the enemy from pushing against the farm, because he needs the Power Fist or Stern Guard or Missile Attacks as well. In theory, you know, you can kill the Death Dread just with a Las Cannon, but against a good player like Valerio, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to get away with that. Force Commander here just bullying the Pod Commando Knob with that battle cry, but he does have to retreat. Shooters were there to support. Ajax it's really weird how he's always running around with these low models. Oh, you see, there was a drop pod in the base. Very odd play. I don't necessarily like it. I assume this is an Overwatch. There is some utility to getting heavy bolter Devastators in tier 2, but I would not be doing that when there could be potential Stick Bombers or Weird Boy coming up as the next purchase for Val. That would actually be a great purchase for Val. Weird Boy. Beamy Looter, let's have a look at the arc. Yes, it's beautiful arc of fire. This is Dead Razorback. Dead Razorback, rear armor hit, boom. Beamy Looter, you know, it is pretty legit against the Razorback. Now that wasn't a Razorback with upgraded armor, so it could have had 50% more HP, which probably would have meant that it didn't die in that instance. Would have took an extra shot, but still, that upgrade is very expensive if you just want a cheap vehicle on the field to force the enemy to get some AV. The Razorback does that, but it's gone. And indeed, we do see heavy bolter Devastators, double heavy bolter Devastators. That is quite odd. So Stick Bomb's going to get thrown onto one by the Commander Knob there. That will disrupt them, but they do need to retreat. And this honestly is not really a great engagement here for the Orcs. The Death Dread's chilling, but I don't know about these sluggers. Okay, fair enough. The Devastators here have finally been upgraded to a las cannon, but wow, these sluggers are in trouble. Yeah, every single slugger boy has been killed. I think in terms of line of fire, there is no... Yeah, there's no arc of fire for the las cannon there. Oh, that sucks. Before the Emperor was using the ASM there, giving them a little bit more damage, but it's not enough to be able to 1v1 a slugger squad with their burners and their knob, unless you use some abilities. Like Merciless Strike, which they did not have the energy for. Do we see any other AV tools coming in? No, we do not. Just bolters right now. So this Death Dread is running around uncontested. Okay, here we go. Power Fist comes out. Flesh over Steel fails because there is a rampage from the Death Dread. It moves away too quickly, and now it can turn around and kill the Force Commander in retreat potentially. No, it would have took one more hit. And now it can mess up some Tactical Space Marines. Damn. This Death Dread has been the MVP, and imagine if it came out a little bit earlier as well. It's only level 1. So hard to kill Space Marines. But ultimately, this Death Dread is very uncontested. Devastator's coming out again. We've got the Death Dread in range stance right now, hiding around the corner. And a very close range stick bombers could have been brutal, but good play actually from Ajax not to panic and retreat when he's seen the stick bombs flying. That would have been horrendous for him if he did. Obviously that's the play that Val was trying to force there. Here we go, special attack from the Death Dread. Seems to miss. It did actually hit one of the ASM and killed them. And the ASM jumped into the Slugger Boys, which is interesting. But there you go. Now, I don't think the FC will win this 1v1 against the Death Dread. The Death Dread could definitely turn around and beat him, even with Flesh over Steel. But perhaps Val doesn't want to waste the time then that he'd have to with his Sluggers to repair the Death Dread back up. Now, the problem for Ajax is that, well, firstly, he needs more AV to deal with this Death Dread. As I mentioned, las cannon alone, probably not going to be good enough. But the bigger problem is, Valerio is currently tier 3, and it looks like Ajax is kind of stuck in tier 2. If we look at the economics, yeah, he's a mile off tier 3, like, there's nowhere near enough power. I mean, Ajax needs power to get missile launchers, Ajax needs power to get further upgrades on his Force Commander, and it's power that he needs but doesn't have, unfortunately. I like the Commando stick bomber play here. Preventing that decap, in spite of the overarching heavy bolter fire. It's nice, and now he's going to infiltrate, tie this fucker up in melee, and then the Sluggers should be able to get the cap on here. I don't know how long this K-Nob's going to be able to stay in play because of the Force Commander, but there you go, another model killed. Yeah, he's doing really well with this knife as the Commando. It's nice to see. You do not see it very often. But I wonder what Val's going for in tier 3. I mean... Flash gates, okay. Alright. Fair enough. I guess it makes the most sense. Knobs feels kind of meh because you're fighting a Force Commander which can go Thunderhammer. And then you can get plasma guns and attacks and do a lot of damage to them and bleed them. And there isn't already a particularly good count to the Heavy Bolt Devastators, which should obviously suppress the knobs and force you to use Frenzy. Look at this drop pod, man. He's been running around without maximum capacity for ages. That is one of the highest value drop pods I have ever seen in my life. Oh my god. Blaster flash skits are going to be problematic. They're going to do huge damage to the Tactical Space Marines. They're going to do huge damage, well, to all these Marines. All these heavy infantry Marines, the blasters, are going to rip to pieces. But on the plus side for Ajax, the Force Commander will be pretty damn resistant to the blasters, because they rely on their splash damage. For now, we're not seeing that. We're actually seeing Git Finders coming, which is just a range upgrade for the flash kits, but they're still just keeping their snaz guns. Okay, here we go. We've got the teleporter pack on the Force Commander. Really could have done with a tripper shot there on the Force Commander to stun him, I think. But all the melee is going to just charge in, and it's too much. Sluggers over here compromising those tactical Space Marines. The combination of the Death Dread and the Sluggers charging here routes the last cannon. Force Commander does manage to slay one of the Flash Gits, but is now getting tied up in melee by that Death Dread and needs to pull out himself. And we have Sluggers on retreat path, looking like they wipe one of these scout squads. No kill on the Force Commander, but nevertheless, that is a decisive victory for Valerio's Orcs. And now we've got a bigger army for the Orcs than the Space Marines, in spite of the fact that the Orcs have tier 3 units, so that is a little bit concerning for Ajax. I think Ajax really let this Death Dread do far too much work. The Death Dread isn't level 3, but it's controlled so much of the map. It's forced 4+ squads away from parts of the map, which then Valerio could cap with the Beamy Looters, which in combat are actually completely useless. He really needed more of a concerted effort to deal with this Death Dread. I mean, it's definitely not over, but that's what I'm seeing so far. It's always a little bit strange as well when there's no Stern Guard against Orcs. Feels like those Hellfire rounds are just so good, and of course it would have given supplemental AV to take down the Death Dread. I'm shocked that Valerio... Oh, he walks into the stick bombers there. Doesn't actually get a kill, but good amount of damage. I think the better combat kit was perhaps a mistake. It feels like the Commander Knob is constantly lacking energy. And whilst this armor does give amazing HP regen, which is probably nice in melee combat, it seems like the Commander Knob is mostly being used for abilities at the moment. Having the tripper shot to stun this guy, having the stun bomb to stun whatever, having the stick bombs, that'd be better. And just infiltrating around the place, you know. Honestly, really surprised that we're seeing Snaz guns on the Gits here and not blasters. I guess Valerio's putting a lot of respect on the Force Commander's name right now. The blasters really do basically nothing to heroes. Very little damage. Snaz guns are great. But yeah, against all the Marines, which you would have to assume are the primary threat right now, I mean, look how many there are. The blasters would be easily 3 times as effective as the Snaz guns. And now it's going to be a looted tank. I mean, when your opponent can't even kill a Death Dread, how are they going to kill a looted tank? You know what I mean? So this should be... This should see Val out with a victory now, you would think. Who knows? It feels like there's often always a way with Space Marines. Valerio's force is kind of thrown all over the place at the moment, which is not really helping him. That was a fantastic concerted push there from Ajax through the middle. Force Commander needs to get out of there. Okay, he's got his teleport, so he's fine. Beamy Looter's just been a little bit of a nuisance, capping the side of the map there. Now we've got the Devastators with the last cannon, so this is a great position here for Ajax. Oh, I stand corrected, there is a Death Dread flanking. This is where you need more AV. Imagine if those Tactical Marines right here had a missile launcher, or was Stern Guard. Then that would be a dead loot tank. Oh, unfortunately for Ajax, that isn't the case. They just had bolters, which is not really helping them too much. Death Dread seems to be missing an opportunity to wipe the Devastators here. Yeah. Okay. Is he... Oh, I see. Rocks in the base. Lovely. That wipes something. Okay, the Devastators just got wiped. And the ASM got wiped. Beautifully executed. Yep, that's a game. That was an alternative method of finishing the game that involved using the Death Dread. Love to see it. That is classic Valerio. Doing things that are interesting. That is why they call him Mr. Interesting. And that is with 50% damage reduction in the base. Nonetheless, the Space Marine player gets obliterated by those rocks. Who'd have guessed it? Power armor doesn't save you if you get a rock dropped on your head from orbit. Unbelievable. Hey, there you go guys, Orcs finally won. I feel like it's been so long since we've seen Orcs winning. I felt bad for the Orcs. We're barely seeing them, and then every time I cast them they get wrecked. But there you go, the Space Marines are beating up the ridiculous power armored chads that are the Space Marines. Whatever, the Orcs. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. If you know who Ajax is, tell me in the comments down below. And you know what, if you don't know who Ajax is, tell me who you think it is in the comments down below. That is going to be all for your boy Torpid. If you want more of this kind of thing, you can get it on the Patreon. Subscribe on there, $5 a month, instant access to 21 casts, and an extra 2 casts every month, with future exciting projects planned. That's going to be all from your boy Torpid. I'm signing out.